I've built into this deal 1%. I think I said last week 1 cent per kilowatt, which is wrong. It's 1 cent on the capex per year. The genuine cost. If you really want to make sure your system is working like a car, you're going to want to make sure somebody comes out and checks it up, and that there's a genuine cost in that preventative maintenance. You want to make sure that you include that in your calculations. We do. We put $15 to $18 per kilowatt per annum. So on a 180 kilowatt deal at $18, I need to get my calculator out. I don't have it handy. You'll arrive at an annual number. This is a big one. Return on capital. Having a discussion with your customer about what does their capital need a return. Their capital needs a return within their business. So what is your return requirement? 10%, 15% when you go and invest in a manufacturing line or invest in a truck or invest in some more people. What's your return? What do your shareholders need? What do you need as a CFO as a return on investment? They often won't tell you. Some might. They might say, you know what, if I'm deploying capital, I need a 15% return. Many will say, oh, well, my cost of money is really low. And it is one way of looking at it. It's not probably the right way of looking at it. In this example, we're using only 5%. It's called the opportunity cost. So instead of using your own money where you can make 15 or 20 or 50% return, use our money and have a low risk option. And we're only building in a 5% opportunity cost. If you actually had a 15% opportunity cost, the numbers go up substantially.
Or it depends what the solution will be, because it won't be like Alistair.
Okay, that's a big one. Most astute businesses, CFOs, will know what their return on capital is. And then they talk about payback periods, of course. So we talked with a customer last week, Ray, that needed a 3 to 4 year payback if they were going to use their own money.
Yeah. That's one thing we'll just work out. That all sounds pretty.
3 to 4 year payback. And that's about the solar savings.
Can I ask a stupid question?
Yeah.
Why would you include a return on investment as a cost?
Because it is an opportunity cost. It is an opportunity cost. So they could actually look. It's not a hard cost like the other ones, Paul. So it's a fair question.
Yeah, so part of your,
however,
part of your role is before it gets.
However, it's still a cost to their business because they could be putting that 181 grand into something and getting, in this example, a 5% return. It's a very conservative number I've got in there. And if we can get a finance person agreeing and understanding that and saying, yeah, you know what, I could go and buy a property or I could go and do something else with that money, that's called, in economics, in finance, it's called an opportunity cost.
Okay, so it's if they put that money into something else, it's going to give them a return.
That's right, Paul.
That's what we're missing on that deal.
So if you can get them to put it into the equation and go and nod at that, well, that's a good part of the sales process.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's downtime efficiency. The stats that we heard constantly quoted from the CEC, from the Solar Council, around the amount of systems out there that aren't operating well. So over 30% of systems are operating worse than under 70% efficiency. There's actually 14% of systems out there aren't even turned on. How's that for a stat? So people don't even know downtime efficiency. And what we're saying is you need to calculate that, because with our PPAs, it's always up. And if you pay cash and it's down for only 3% of the time, you're effectively going to be losing this amount of money if it was down 3% of the time. Because instead of getting the energy from our PPA or through the cash deal, if they paid cash, they might be saving against a current cost of, say their current cost is 17 cents for their energy. They think they're going to be getting this energy and not paying for it, 0 cents, because they've paid cash. But if it's not working, they're suddenly paying this 17 cents that they haven't put into their equation. Any questions on these guys? So where we're landing is it's not $1 or what? 181 grand. It's a lot more than that. And Paul, you asked last week, what can we use as a rule? I think you can safely say between $1.70 and $2, close to double is your true cost over a 15-year period. Did you know, Mr. Customer, the cost isn't 181 grand, it's actually more? Oh, gee, that sounds a bit much. Tell us about that.
Jay, what was your calculation on the inverter upgrade again? Sorry.
Look, we don't know whether it's going to be I've got in here 15 cents.
Right.
Kilowatt or $15. So it's 15 cents on 181,000 watts. 181,000 times 15. 1.15. You know, we don't know, and that's part of the argument. Will they be 20 cents? Will they be 10 cents or what? Right now, the small inverters that we're installing are around 20, 25 cents. If you're doing big ones, like 50 kilowatt inverters, 100 kilowatt inverters, they're down around 9 or 10 cents a watt, I'm talking about.
Yes.
They're good numbers to kind of know in the background, I suppose. Though we do try to stick away from product talk, of course.
Yeah.
You're forced to go into cash and product talk when you do this stuff. That's what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Good summary.
Okay. It was a bit shorter than last week's one.
That's good.
Now, if you want to talk to a customer with this on the first, you got a customer right now that's kind of going, oh, hold on, I'm not too sure. Then let's do a call together. Let's just have a 15-minute session and dial me in, and you can sit and listen and learn on the run. Okay. Any other questions on that, guys?
Yep.
Did I send you guys a spreadsheet last week?
We didn't get the spreadsheet, but Mike did send the video. If you could send the spreadsheet, that would be amazing.
Yeah. Because the one I'm using right now isn't the one I used last week, because I had an extra box up there, I remember, which was talking about payback periods. So I'm going to find that and send it to you.
Thank you.
It's probably in the training file. Okay. Did you guys get a chance to look through the contract? I know it's a bit arduous and takes a while, but how'd we go? Who didn't? Come on.
All the three of us certainly have. Don't know about.
What about the other guys that didn't dial in? Do you reckon they didn't?
Yeah. Why they're not here? I don't know.
Jay, did you get an email that I sent you through with some questions from Paul? Rochelle?
Yeah, I did. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for that, Paul. Too. That was brilliant.
Yeah, good on you.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah.
And Paul's
Rochelle.
two Pauls. It came from Paul. Rochelle, yeah.
Yeah, I've worked with contracts for years and years and years and setting up the sales and marketing for a property aggregator where we're doing all the contracts with developers right across the country.
I'm having trouble hearing you, Paul. Can everyone else hear Paul well, or is it just me?
I think it's the mic.
It's my mic here.
Oh,
Yeah, I've had years and years of experience of doing contracts, heading up sales and marketing for a property aggregator, dealing with developers directly and doing all their contracts for the marketing agreements. And so, you've got to go through those things with a fine-tooth comb. And when you lose $500,000 because of two words in a contract personally, you sort of think, well, shit, you've got to look at contracts pretty closely because there are nuances. So, I had a few questions in regards to your contract there.
Wasn't many questions, actually. Clearly, there's some little cleanups we need to do in the agreement that I've sent on to Alexander.
Yeah.
Let me just pull your questions up.
And thanks for being thorough, Paul, too. Appreciate it. It's great.
Yeah, I'm pretty aspy when it comes to those sorts of things.
Aspy.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to find your email, Mike. Sorry, it was today, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So this time next week, while you're looking for that, Jay, I think Paul's actually going to be sitting in a large spa bath with the owners of multiple hot spring resorts.
Oh, yeah.
On the land deals. So he'll be living the tough life next week with some dinner and drinks and hot tub time machines.
Yeah. Just a reasonable tip, Paul, that laptops don't work well in spas.
Oh, maybe lap dances are better.
Oh,
Neither to close, according to
Oh,
Paul.
geez. Whatever you got to do to get the signatures, mate.
and this session's been recording for video and training purposes and shall be disseminated to the whole company. Good on you, Paul Shelley.
You're going to chop it up.
Editing.
I didn't start to gather when someone mentioned the word lap.
No, I started that.
Yeah.
And edit now. Cut.
Yeah, you're going to do some editing, hopefully, Mike.
I'm going to have
Let's whip
to.
through these. Let's whip through Paul's queries, and then Paul Smythe, you had a couple as well. When is approval sought? Look, it's like any deal. Once they sign, we go to the distributor to get network approval. So we won't do anything until they've signed the agreement. It's part of the process, whether it's a cash deal or PPA deal. Look, if it's refused, there's no deal, and it's a condition precedent. There's a bunch of what we call CPs, conditions precedent, on the very front page of the agreement. There's a thing, conditions precedent.
Under what circumstances would a distributor normally deny connection?
Usually when it gets a bit big and they're not going to allow any export, or it's way out where the distribution lines are bad. It's usually bigger systems, frankly, and it is one of the reasons why we like this space. Below the 39 kilowatt, we get faster network approvals than we would for 40 or 41 kilowatt, which is an important point that Paul Smythe brought up. It's why we like these below 39 kilowatt DC deals. And then when you're at a 50 kilowatt, say, there's extra costs usually from the distributor, which are export limiting costs, extra technology that needs to be put on to minimize the export going back to the grid. And those extra costs can blow out those deals when they're like a 50 kilowatt deal, because you've got these extra costs. That's why you see a lot of deals closer up towards 99 and right on 39, or, between 30 and 39 kilowatts.
Is it between 40 and 59 kilowatts? Is that sort of black hole area?
Yeah, that's right. 39 to 50, 60. I mean, it still might work if they've got a really high cost of energy.
Yeah.
But the extra technology costs can blow those deals out and just makes the deal harder to make it work. So, look, we don't get many turndowns. The ones that we have been turned down, or they take ages, are with the other bigger deals. South Australia, SAPN can be tricky. I wouldn't worry about it too much. The bulk of them, the majority of them will get done. Why relocation in that clause, 4.22? It's just another option, because that clause is all about the customer does something on their site that stops our ability to sell them energy. So it's hampering our system. So we're giving them just another option. If for some reason it can't be fixed, they could move the system to another site. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's superfluous. Yeah.
It's pretty superfluous, yeah.
Yeah.
It in that clause is juice capital energy. It's just probably not the best wording, Paul.
No.
Excess quantity, that really only applies to when excess quantity has a number in it or is defined on the front page. So you'll see on the front page, which is the key terms, where it says excess quantity, it might be 0. So it's kind of irrelevant unless there is excess quantity, which would be with a consumption deal, not a generation deal. So a lot of our deals, we call them maxes, which are generation deals, customer buying all the energy.
Yep.
When it's a consumption deal, however, the excess quantity would be a number in there that they need to pass through to us on a consumption deal.
So do they pay for that, do they?
Yeah, they pay for it, and then we have an agreed feed-in tariff amount that they pass through to us. It's actually a fixed number in our contract, so we might say to them, feed-in tariff at 7 cents, you need to pay us. Mm-hmm. They might get 9. That's with a consumption-based agreement.
Mm-hmm. All right.
We're not doing as many consumption-based agreements. We're doing more maxes where they get the feed, where they buy all the energy and get the feed-in tariff. It would happen more often when it might be a 5-day-a-week business or a seasonal. Do you know about our seasonal deals?
I've heard about them, but I haven't.
Yeah.
Learned
It's
too much
important
about
the
them.
seasonal deals are where the farmer might be pumping only 8 months of the year or really sporadic pumping.
Mm.
They agree to buy the consumed energy at a price, let's say 15 cents, and then everything that's exported, they agree to pay us a fixed number, say 7 cents. And on their bill, they get consumed energy, and the excess energy they pay us the 7 cents for, and they are effectively taking the risk on that excess energy.
Mm.
It works in seasonal. If you're out and you're talking to farmers, it's a really good product.
Mm-hmm. Would that be the same scenario for schools?
It very well could be for the schools. That's correct, because they're sporadic. That's a good point.
Yeah.
With our new energy sharing product, I like the idea of them doing a max, so they've got control of all that energy, and then the excess they can sell in the holidays with schools, or on the weekends when they're not using as much. They can decide what they want to do with that energy at what price. I kind of like that idea.
Mm.
Well, it's actually more than an idea. We can do that.
Yeah, well, that's the exciting thing with the schools, especially if they're dealing with the community, because then the flow-on effects are really positive.
So therefore, Jay, question. So if you are talking to a school, or if you're talking to an organisation that might go, or that sort of fits the bill of a consumption-based model, would you then consider having a conversation to go the other way and actually put the structure in place that you spoke about? Like, is that the preferred engine to go max rather than consumption if you get that set up?
We really like max deals. They're simple to execute. So my answer is yes. And what happens with a max is, because they're agreeing to buy all the energy, the price is lower, so it will look better. If we look at their interval data and they do a consumption deal, and we look at it and we go, oh, they're probably only going to buy 60% of that, the rest will be feed-in tariff, that price will be higher. The consumption price is typically higher. With a max, they're agreeing to buy it all, boom, and then they can do what they want with that energy. Price is lower.
So I think that's a really important distinction, guys, when you get those things, is if it presents as a consumption-based model, then how can you reframe it to go with the max? What conversations can you have? Because I think that opens up the doors to the energy sharing conversation, either immediately or at least getting them to go that way. I think you sort of you're looking at fitting in with that net zero journey with the max model and the consumption energy sharing conversation. Yep,
easier to execute with a customer. We like it better, and they've got more options. Really, they can decide to. I mean, it's pretty cool. They've got the options to donate or sell that energy.
Just epic.
It's epic, and so I'll give you an example. We did a whole bunch of buybacks that were origin contracts with Hornenberg in Townsville over the last couple of months, over 300 kilowatts of buybacks, where the customers are going onto one bill. So we're buying the contracts from origin. They're moving across to MBE. They're going to get one bill, and they are going to decide on what to do with the excess energy.
So if they donate, that becomes then a tax deduction for them as well?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, because there's this quasi thing going on here where they might sell it or donate it through to a charity, or give it to their own business that's over there, or a mum and dad or their home. If it's a donation, is it a tax deduction? I would say yes.
So if they're, say, generating just on the weekend, or not, they're generating on the weekend and not using on the weekend, and they say give it to a residential, then is that just for the weekend, or is that then offsetting their total bill?
Offsetting whose total bill?
The residential.
So the residents, this is energy sharing lesson now.
Yeah.
Whoever wants to participate in this need to come on board with Juice Energy, NBE, Next Business, and the bill that the mum and dad get needs to be a Next Business energy bill. So they need to come in and be part of the community, and they will get a credit on their bill for the difference between their cost of energy and the price they're being charged from their donator, which is zero. So they might save 3 or 4 cents on the energy sharing, on the energy component on their bill.
My understanding that NBE was directed only at people with ABN. So how do you get around that for those people?
That's incorrect.
Okay.
But it is a new development. So being able to share through to residences is a very new development.
Mm-hmm.
We're not doing it in Victoria as yet, Jay. We're just doing the
doing the business.
for now.
But anyway, we've gone off on a tangent. Stay tuned. It's a great discussion point. You can get people in to writing a PPA with us or doing a deal with us because we have this capability. It's like a stay tuned. And then you can ring them back in a couple of months and say, righto, we're away. Instead of getting a feed-in tariff from your retailer, come on board with us and you can secure your feed-in tariff via us in the community.
Is at that point, Jay, do we go back and install more panels, or do we need to almost oversize a little bit if they're interested in the sharing side of it?
Well, I think that let's not complicate it like that quite yet.
Okay.
It would work on the weekend with the example that we were talking about before.
School and church.
And there often is a bit of export in the week anyway, just because of the way their usage patterns go. Yeah. When we start humming with this, there might be some oversizing going on, purposeful oversizing going on.
Got it. Yep.
Contract stuff. Any other contract stuff? What Mike and I are going to do is do a Q&A on the contract as a separate exercise.
So within that, guys, that's going to be a similar Q&A session to the one that we're looking to do with Paul Horan on the agribusiness stuff for you guys as well too. So could I ask that if you think about an interview situation, what I'm looking for, we've got an agenda that Jay and I are going to develop out and unpack, but what I'd love from you guys as well too is if there are specific questions that you have in your head that you think are really, really important to the conversation that you want to have included, so that then becomes a tool that you can use, then please email those questions or those topics through to Paul Smythe and I'll include them in the interview. So Jay and I will do a Zoom like this. I'll be the interviewer and Jay will simply answer the questions as we roll through. And then I'll record that as I'm doing at the moment. I'll dress it up and it becomes a tool to use.
I mean, I'm going to make a note now. There are like 5 or 6 key areas in the contract that are good to have had a discussion with before they get the contract. But there's no surprises. So when they get it, we've talked about this, we've talked about that, we've talked about that. And this is a good thing, not a negative.
That's great.
Look out for this, but this is why it's in the contract,
Pre-frame.
What your mortgage brokers used to do, you sit down and they say, let me just make you aware of these key areas in the contract that you're about to sign. And they take the pain away and they say, the buyout. What happens if you move property? This is clause this. And being able to talk through those 5 or 6 things before the contract hits their desk is key. And then you line up the contract. Then you say to them, how about I'm going to organise the agreement. They've signed the application form. Congratulations for coming on board. Friday at 9 o'clock, I'm going to organise a Zoom meeting or a call so that we can execute the final contracts. We just got some stuff behind the scenes to do, get you formally approved and do our normal checks, check the system size, etc. And then how about this Friday we get together and we're going to sign the contract. How does that sound? Cool. Okay, so you would have had a chance to read it by then? Yep. Before you read it, here's the 6 key things I want to draw to your attention. You're closing the deal. This is closing the deal. And what I want to do in the video is highlight those 5 or 6 key things.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Right,
and then the only way it won't happen on that Friday is if they suddenly decide to give it to a lawyer or whatever. Okay, that happens sometimes. Give it to their accountant. Last thing you want is to give them to the accountant. They won't brief them properly. The accountant will, we don't want that. It's okay, but it's just going to stall the deal, right? It's going to.
Why do you find accountants are negative to it?
Because they add the numbers up.
I've had both of that happen.
They get the numbers, they get their calculator out and they go, oh my God, over 20 years, we're going to pay this amount. Why don't we just pay cash? And then you're going to go right into no one's briefed them about no risk, opportunity, none of that.
Yeah, right. Okay.
That typically when a contract gets passed on, they don't get briefed properly. Like this, we're doing this. These are the benefits. I've gone to the market and assessed all options. I understand the buyer, understand all the commercials of it. Please look for any gaping holes in it. They give it to a lawyer. They pay him $400. And what does a lawyer do when they're getting paid $400?
Not much.
No, they've got to spend an hour on it. No, they're going to get their red pen out and go into every frigging little detail. And 90% of them are just, they don't get it. They haven't looked at it commercially.
So, Jay, maybe there's, we might make a note to do a separate video, the top 5 things your accountant won't know about a PPA.
Yep.
Because it's inevitable at some point in time it's going to get passed on.
Yeah, no, it will. It does, and it happens.
So why don't we knock it on the head and pre-frame it and give it and create a tool that actually speaks directly into that?
I love you.
I love you too, mate. But let's create the tool and you can take me to dinner later.
Get a room, you two.
Hot Springs with Paul.
Oh, no, thank you. No. Anyway, moving on. Still, this video is rooted. I'm going to stop recording.
No, this video, you're just going to chop up bits of it. I don't know that we need people to look. Anyway, it's up to you. I'll tell you, so to close off today, I wanted to introduce another idea. And the idea is, if we're talking energy, your customer is somewhere in the process, when you're talking through the bill, they're going to have a number in mind that's good value for them. So if you've been through the bill with them and the true rate that we call it is 18 cents, let's say, then in their head, they're going to have a cents per kilowatt. That'd be a really good deal for them. Find the time to ask them. Don't give them a price. Don't tell them how good 12 cents is. Find out what the price is and then continue on with your rapport building and your objection handling and your contract points, your solution selling. Because in the end, you can say to them, if I can get you that price, will you go ahead? Yes, no.
Yep.
And then give them that price. And then all we do is tie it to a volume count. Might be 11, it's circa 11 years, might be circa 25 years.
Yeah, but that's if they're, if they're playing around, they could just come in and say, "Oh, listen, I want to pay 3 cents."
Yeah, but you're asking them to be reasonable, Paul.
Yeah. That's right. But
No, but if you just say to them, I'm a reasonable person, you're a reasonable businessman, that is not going to happen.
Mm.
What I'm asking you is what would be value here? 20% discount, 30% discount? Oh, how about 40? Righto. 20 cents. Let me just 20 cents times 40%, 1.6. 12 cents. Okay. Let's see what we can do. If I can get you 12 or 11 cents, so you're continually saving 40%. How does that feel to you? How does that go? Pretty good, yeah? Okay, cool. And what else? What other? You're just trying to unpack their fears, right? There's fears in here. Someone says, "Oh, mate, I'm only going to be here for 7 years." Oh, okay. Well, what? Okay, tell me a little bit more about that. What's the problem with that? And then they'll have to think a bit more about their fear. And the fear will be, "Oh, but I might sell the business." All right. They might tell you they might go out of business. Oh, you're learning something. Oh, okay. So your issue is that you reckoned you might want to sell the business. You're looking to exit the business. Is that the issue? Yeah. And you're talking about a 15-year agreement. Okay. I understand how you feel about that, Mr. Customer. We've got an absolute way to handle that. What else? If they start saying, "I want you to tell me about that," oh, cool, I'll tell you about that. And then you very, very simply say to them, it's all good news. The system is paid off partially at 7 years. You can either buy it out and wrap it in the sale with a customer, and they're getting a renewable energy system where they're not paying for any energy. How good's that? Or we just simply innovate it to the customer and talk to them about what price they want on the next contract. Happens all the time. Next.
Yeah.
It's got to be done with confidence. It's simple. Just say, "Oh, yeah, next." That's easy. Yep. What else?
Very good.
All right, any other questions to go over in this
Yes,
session,
I
guys, for Jay?
No, that was gold.
Want to just, whilst I'm on this call, just say big thanks to Paul and especially to Ray for the drone footage that you've that you've put through,
So
mate. That's
good.
absolutely magnificent, mate. Really appreciate your efforts. It's awesome.
That's all right. I'm glad it comes in handy.
Yeah, we're gonna tie all that together and make a nice, pretty video. With the right branding on it.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think, look, as I said to Paul this morning, I walked around that area after we did the install the other day, and it was just so easy to be able to say, look, we just did that place, right there. And it really, and having the footage and the photos, you can show them. It's tangible.
Oh, it's gold.
Yeah. So, I'm glad it worked out well. And if you need me to do any more, let me know. I'm happy to donate a bit of time, because I think
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, if we've got other systems in your area, it'd be great to do a couple of others.
Yeah, there's one going in Bunbury in Perth, Ray. Can you hop in your car and?
Yeah, no problems. As I told Paul the other day, I charge $150 an hour.
When you arrive. Well, the next install is going to be Ray's.
Actually, yeah.
Taylor Flu's next week, so you'll get some footage of that. And
Yeah,
then
fantastic.
Bells Beach Brewery will be a cracking one to get footage on as well.
Yeah, it's good stuff, guys.
Jay, thanks for your support. Same for Dan up there as well, too, and Em. You guys are great.
Dan's here listening in. He's just tied up with a couple of things. He's right next to me.
Yep.
We will we'll do it again next week.
We love you, Dan.
I'll give a bit of thought on the topics. If there's anything specifically that you guys want, let me know.
No, all good.
Dangerous words, Jay, because there'll be a list now, but stay
That's
tuned.
fine. That's fine. We'll prioritise and work through them.
All right, guys. Thanks very much. Thanks, Jay. Appreciate it.
Thank you.